Hi, my name is Ricky Himman and I'm the Program Director for the Sydney South African Film Festival, and I'd like to extend a huge warm welcome to Craig Cameron-Macintosh all the way from Cape Town in South Africa. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Ricky. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, it's lovely to have you with us in the festival this year with your film called Billy Monk, A Shot in the Dark. If you don't mind, please, just for our viewers, introduce yourself and then tell us how this film and this production came about and who are all the people behind it.
Well, I'm Craig Cameron-Macintosh, and I'm the director and producer of the film Billy Monk, Shot in the Dark. This film took about 2.5 years to make. I had a great team on board, a great co-producer and cinematographer, Pierre de Villiers, and co-producer Kate Pansegro in Cape Town, and a really excellent editor, Matthew Swanepoel, from post-production in Cape Town as well. The film came about because I am actually the archivist, or if you will, the curator of the Billy Monk archive or portfolio of photographs. And so part of my goals to educate people about who Billy Monk was and to reinvigorate these photographs and bring them back into the public eye, my intention was to create a short film that could accompany any exhibitions around the world for people to go in and out of a gallery space's cinema. But the project it was too interesting, too big to actually just confine it to a small 8 or 10 minute video for people to watch in a gallery space. And the more I dug and more research, I just found out that it was such an interesting story that read like a film script. It had 3-act structure like a film, and I just needed to do the film and the photographs and Billy Monk justice by creating something a little bit more involved. I do have a filmmaking background, so it all came together quite perfectly, and I was able to get such a great team on board to help me make it over the last 2.5 years.
No, it really came. It was wonderfully produced. So interesting. How long did it actually take you to get track down all the people you interviewed? I think there was about 15 people that you interviewed that knows of Billy Monk.
Yes, we were so lucky because we managed to get 15 interviewees who were all involved in Billy Monk's story, whether directly, like Billy Monk's son David, or peripherally, for example, Zelda Benjamin, who was a jazz musician in the 1960s who would have played at the clubs where Billy Monk was working. So we gathered these people bit by bit. It was quite interesting because one person would put us onto another person, and it was just like this network that spread slowly from the original meetings that I had with David Monk, Billy Monk's son. So I think the first interview was shot in January 2017. And so we grouped it in 3s or 4s, finding people that were relevant to the story, and then they would spread the network, and then we would organize, 6 months later, another set of interviews to make the most of our resources as well. It was done on quite a small budget, with a lot of favors from people with studios, equipment. So that's how we did it.
Wow. And tell me, why do you think this film is still relevant today, 50 years after these Billy Monk photographs were taken?
I think the themes that come across in the film that we uncovered, and the stories and the photographs that reveal it all, I think they're relevant because they're dealing with issues that we're still looking at today. Separation and segregation. What happens in times of extreme situations, whether it's war, apartheid, pandemics. You realize that no matter the situation and whatever is enforced on us, people actually just want to have fun and be joyful, and they will find ways to do that. And so I think the photographs are also a beautiful reminder of the good that happens during these times, that during apartheid, the height of apartheid in South Africa, people didn't necessarily agree with what was going on. And why they're so refreshing to look at, the photographs today, is that even though they're 50 years old, they remind us that there was joy in this time, and they're a refreshing take on the imagery that we are used to seeing coming from apartheid South Africa at that time. We're used to struggle and oppression and all these bad things that came out of that time. And these photographs remind us that there was good. There were good people who got together.
Yeah, it's almost like you uncovered this whole world, within this period, which was quite amazing. And tell me, so what kind of stylistic filmmaking choices did you make during the production of being an artist but also being a filmmaker? And how did that come out, or how did you decide how to portray and to develop this documentary in the way you have?
Well, luckily from the beginning, I had great co-producers, Kate and Pierre, and we had an idea. And with Pierre being my cinematographer as well, he's an excellent award-winning cinematographer, we did have a rough idea of what we wanted to achieve with the look and the feel and the style of the film.
Right.
But interestingly, the limiting factors really helped us as well. For example, like I said, we did this on quite a small budget. And initially we wanted to cut to archival footage of Navy ships arriving in the Cape Town harbor and scenes of District 6 before the forced removals, and just, street life. Yeah, street scenes from 1950s, 1960s Cape Town. Unfortunately, that footage is like prohibitively expensive, sometimes £20 per second. So that ruled out, incorporating archival footage. So we were forced to think, a little bit more concentrated, which resulted in the style of the film that we went with, which actually really emphasizes Billy Monk's photographs. So it's mostly black and white. 95% of the film is black and white. And when we are not looking at the interviewees in a black studio setup, what they're saying is being illustrated by Billy Monk's photographs. And it really just did concentrate the attention to Billy Monk's work. And at first I was nervous that people would get bored of looking at this, people on screen or black and white film, photographs. I didn't want it to come across as a really long PowerPoint presentation. But in the editing suite, after the first cut that Matthew Swanepoel showed me, I was like, it's so interesting watching these beautiful people on camera in beautiful black and white. It's really engaging. And then the photographs really speak for themselves and kind of came alive. So that helped us to come up with this quite stark black and white look and feel, quite graphic, which matched the photographs. And also in the end, it actually gives you the feeling when you're in the cinema for 35 minutes, black and white, quite closed in, you get the feeling and the impression that you are in a nightclub. And then we just complemented that with really great 1960s hits from South Africa. We had some amazing jazz, pop, rock and roll. And so I tracked down the number one hits during that time. And we had a great music composer who added to that with his own score.
No, you're right. You definitely created this club feeling. And I mean, I'm sure during the time when they shot this, or when he took these photographs, his camera was only black and white, or do you think he did it on purpose to be in black and white?
Yes, at the time that Billy Monk was photographing in the late 1960s, color film had been introduced.
Right.
He stuck to black and white, which I think is so powerful. And that's actually something that I asked every single interviewee, from David Goldblatt to Lynn Sampson and Jacques de Villiers. Why black and white? Why is black and white so powerful? And it wasn't actually included in the film, but I really would like to do a short 5-minute film where we go into black and white and how it is so powerful and graphic and strong. And when it removes a certain sense from you, it heightens the emotion, and it gives it more drama, more feeling, because you kind of are filling in the gaps. It's not presenting everything to you all at once.
Yeah, it's like this stark contrast with the people having fun and in this black and white, and in the black and white interviews. It was really, really, really well done. So tell me, without stating the obvious then, how did you come about to name the film, or the title of the film, and what is the significance of the title of the film to you?
The title of the film, Billy Monk Shot in the Dark, was actually a suggestion from Kate Pansagar, my co-producer. And
right.
I think it worked so well on so many levels, because he literally did shoot these images in the dark, which just showed his amazing technical skills and abilities to be able to point his viewfinder in a dark, smoky club with black walls stained with blood and beer and brandy, and to be able to spot these compositions and take them with a flash. So first of all, there's that meaning, and then the second layer to the title is obviously that he was shot. He was shot dead, unfortunately, and this was in the dark. And then when I was talking to you on the phone a couple of weeks ago, it was another layer kind of revealed itself, with this idea that when I was looking into taking over the custodianship of this archive, it really was a shot in the dark, just asking the family and Billy Monk's children, can we take on this kind of custodianship of the archive? Just out of the blue, asking them. It really was a shot in the dark.
No, it's wonderful that it actually has so many different meanings to where the film is today. And the main club that you featured in the documentary, where the photographs were taken, is called the Catacombs. Does this space still exist in Cape Town? And if so, or what was the importance of this space or this club in the 60s?
Yes, so I would say 80% of Billy Monk's photographs were taken in the Catacombs, because that's where he was the bouncer and he had his camera there every weekend. It was such an important sort of what I think it was Ashraf Jamal, the art critic, called it a third space, a place where it was sort of like no man's land, and that's where people congregated that did not fit the apartheid laws at the time. It was a place where people could get together, whether they were mixed race, homosexual, transgender, black, white, American sailors, anyone. It was an important place, and also an important springboard for jazz musicians, Capetonian jazz musicians at the time. So it was an important space, even if it was underground and maybe not many people knew about it. Today, that space is still there. The facade still exists. It's a beautiful building. It's called Touchstone House. So the club would have been in the basement level of that. And now it's very much in the heart of the new business precinct of Cape Town. It's very smart and, trendy coffee shops, businesses. And so it's a completely different world to back in the 1960s, where it was essentially Cape Town's red light district. It was where the harbour kind of precinct was designated. And as with a lot of port cities, what happens in the port kind of stays in the port because the community is transient. Okay, they might be there for 2 weeks or less. So the police kind of turn a blind eye to what happens in the port. So a very different kind of space now as compared to the 1960s.
Exactly. That's why you had so much freedom to take those photographs. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you also mentioned in the documentary, or you spoke about Lynn Sampson's famous article in the Sunday Times, "Now you've gone and killed me." How did that influence your film?
Lynn Sampson's article really brought Billy Monk to the world's attention. It's such an unbelievably, like I said, it reads like a film script, and the way Lynn wrote it is so beautiful and clever. And to this day, it's still being quoted and republished in different publications. That article just really grabbed me when I first read it, and it really put the photographs into context. And so I was lucky enough to find Lynn Sampson. She actually lives down the road from me, and we had many meetings, and I got to interview her a few times, and she plays quite an important role in the film because her article, her short story, "Now You've Gone and Killed Me," is, I would say, kind of the backbone of my documentary. We continuously cut back to Lynn reading excerpts from her article, and that kind of moves the story along in a nice, interesting, and poetic way. So it was quite important to me, and she really, apart from it being really well written and interesting to read, Lynn really had, she was interviewing people at the moment when it was happening, when his exhibition was being so well received by art critics and the public, and before he had died. So when she interviews the transgender woman that frequented the club and were friends with Billy Monk, she really spent time with him and had first-hand accounts from him. So it was important to have that kind of document and use it as our backbone of our story.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I think in the call we spoke, in the very last question, you mentioned to me that you actually still are very much involved in this photographic legacy of Billy Monk. So if you just want to quickly mention to us what you're doing with that right now, with the photograph specifically.
Yes. So what was so exciting for me coming on board as the archivist or custodian was that Billy Monk has been in the public eye since 1982 and very well received, and he's been included in major exhibitions and museums and galleries around the world, like the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, the Center for Photography in New York. And so over the last few decades, he's made some traction in the photographic world, and people do know about him, but there's never been someone consistently throughout getting his work out there, exhibiting it, ensuring academic papers are written about him, articles, media. So when I came on board, I had like this great kind of groundwork done for me by all these amazing people, including David Goldblatt and Jacques de Villiers. And so I came on board and ensured that, along with Gavin Furlonger, who's my partner in from his gallery, Gallery F in Cape Town, we make sure that, first of all, the negatives are kept safe, because they are 50 years old and they need to be taken care of so they don't disintegrate. And then, so apart from physically taking care of the negatives, we've been planning exhibitions. We launched at my first exhibition as archivist. We launched at the Cape Town Art Fair last year in 2019 with 25 previously unpublished photographs, which was really exciting. And then since then, we've exhibited in Hong Kong and Tokyo, which was also very exciting because there's such a strong link between Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, and Cape Town. Cape Town was the last stop before these deep sea fishing trawlers went out to the deep Atlantic to fish. So a lot of the images that Billy Monk took feature Japanese sailors and Taiwanese trawlermen. So it was a nice kind of full circle to bring it back to Japan and get so much interest from there.
Oh, that's great. So we really hope to see one of your digital exhibitions one day in Sydney and in Australia. And
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time, and all the best of luck with your exhibitions going forward.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ricky, and thanks for including me in your festival.